What's up, guys? Ben here bringing you another video. A bunch of news overnight on the CDL front, as well as a few pieces of Call of Duty news this morning. Let's talk about it. First up, we have the results from the October Bash. I think I'm pronouncing that right. The October Bash 2 tournament. This was the Baka Bros. This is the Baka Bros S&D tournament they ran yesterday with a lot of CDL pros, ex-CDL pros. Really typical run for Methods and the boys. Haggy on that team as well. They actually made the run all the way from losers round 1 and won the event, beating two different teams with phase members, as well as some really good S&D stars like Gorgo and Tupac. So really interesting result. I don't think anyone necessarily had Zen's team really taking this one. And Nero kind of went off, especially at the end of this tournament, and did a little bit of chirping as well at the end, calling himself the real Tiny Terror. We'll see how that plays out this season, but already getting some interesting storylines going on the CDL front. I think that what I want to talk a little bit about is sort of some of the hubbub on Twitter and social media about, once again, one of these creator tournaments having sort of stacked teams. I think this has been an issue for a number of years. By number of years, I mean last year as well. And I think there's some steps you could take to maybe mitigate some of these issues of, hey, like you're basically getting a team of 3 CDL level pros and like 1 content creator or really S&D star. One thing I think you could do is maybe give the content creators a captain spot, so they need to kind of add around that. One other thing you could do is maybe split the content creator category into like X pros, XS&D pros, and then a content creator. I think the final thing is also sort of the spin the wheel tournaments that Hitch has done on the TSC boys is just have the tournament creator or tournament operator really build the teams themselves and even things out. Regardless, I think there'll be some feedback coming out of this. It was still a very good tournament. I think overall the teams were pretty even, but one to watch for these launch tournaments. I think this is still sort of an ongoing thing people are trying to sort around these. Next up, we've got a release coming out of the Activision front in regards to the Modern Warfare 2 launch, and essentially it's great news for them on that front that they've sold $800 million worldwide in the first 3 days of launch. And once again, for pretty much every year in a row, this is generally the largest entertainment release of the year. No real surprise on me on that front, like annually Call of Duty is usually in this category. And of no surprise, this is coming pretty much at the end of the quarter, and you see the stock price ticking up this morning on the Activision front based on these news. Look, I think my takeaway for this is, again, we see this every year. Call of Duty always is going to have a really strong launch, and they're going to spin it any way they want. The biggest, I think, indicator for the company and for the community is long-term, what is the playability of this game like? How much money are they making off a microtransaction? Are they maintaining that player base? I think we're going to see another real launch kind of spin PR thing come out on their front in regards to the Warzone 2 launch when that comes out. But I'm looking forward to see sort of by the end of December, beginning of January, we get to the end of quarter 4 and they're doing their fiscal end of year stuff, what the stats are in terms of the playability and player base continuing on sort of the Modern Warfare 2 Warzone 2 space. Two kind of things on the CDL front overnight. One is sort of an update here from CDL Intel on the GA front. They're calling this V.01, which I think is fair. As always, sort of European challengers led by Luti & Co. are always a little bit quicker to sort of GA certain things before the North American side does it. Taking a look at the list here, no surprise that the 74U is being GA'd. It's a pretty powerful gun. It's pretty much a 2-bullet kill. I was using it in 8s the other day, and it's definitely difficult to play against, and I'm not surprised that they're restricting it for now until there's a weapon tuning on it. Smoke's getting out of respawn makes sense. You don't really want smoke run through spam. Smokes are actually pretty solid in this game, and we'll get to that. Where Europe's maybe a little bit ahead, they have flashes removed in all modes. I think you might see North America do this in respawn and in S&D as well. Seems like they're a little bit bugged with trophies right now, and they do last quite a bit. So I think a temporary restriction as people kind of learn the game might make sense, and if they can really kind of improve or kind of nerf them a bit, I think they can come back in. This might take the North American side of things a little bit of time to kind of iron out, but just sort of like the GAs on number of smokes and S&Ds and the number of trophies. And I think teams have scrimmed and played enough to really like make a definitive call on that one yet on the North American side. I expect there to be a trophy limit in respawn. Probably 2 is sort of fair. And then the number of smokes and S&D, we'll see TBD. I think 1 is probably where we're going to end up, but let's see where North American pros want to go in terms of their thought process. And then finally, want to end on some massive W news coming out of Deserto via Jacob Hale. And this has been rumored for a while that CDL teams will design their own MW2 weapon blueprints, as well as the ability to customize their jerseys a little bit further. On the camo front, this is a massive W. We've all wanted to see for a long time what designers could do on some of these big orgs to really put out some cool stuff in game, as well as some of the smaller CDL franchises. Are they going to do something crazy to kind of stand out from the pack? I'm really excited for this one, and really happy that on the Activision Asian front, they sort of figured out whatever was sort of holding this back, either politics or legal reasons. Curious to see when these supposedly drop in spring of 2023, what they look like. We might get some gap fill camos between now and then before the season release in December. So it looks like we might get 2 stages of those camos this year. And then the last piece is sort of on the jersey front, that there's more creative front for teams on what they can do. Y'all have seen sort of the generic CDL stuff over the years. I think this is a massive improvement. One, to see again for a long time what these teams can whip up. I think it's going to improve sales. And with like Raleigh coming up, hopefully we can get a lot of these merch designs and jerseys available at that event. I think it would do wonders for the community. So yeah, a lot of updates overnight. I'll keep putting out these videos as we sort of get advancements on the GA front and other sort of news and around the community. Let me know in the comments what you think about some of these pieces. Are you guys happy on some of this news? Do you have some takes? Let me know in the comments and I'll respond to a few y'all. As always, stick around and please like if you enjoy the content and subscribe as well for more stuff hitting your feed. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.